Hello, Albert and Moses in particular, and any new hires to Biskaken in Koflorudua, Ghana. The reason I'm sending this video today is to introduce myself. My name is Ken Van Doren. I've been a friend of Peter Bismarck for approximately 10 years, and he was my chauffeur in February of 2024 when I visited Ghana. Now, a little bit about myself. Most of my adult life, I was either selling things or building things. I spent quite a bit of time in the construction business, although I also was a snap-on tool dealer serving the automotive and mechanical trades. Now, I've also run my own business. I've been a foreman for other businesses, so I have some management experience. I've been a salesperson. I have sales experience. And having run my own business, I know how to look at a balance sheet for profit and loss. Now, one thing I want to impress upon you, um, we are running a business. And if we don't make a profit, the business ceases to exist. The one thing I discovered in my long career is that when the boss does not make money, sooner or later, nobody is making money. And I appreciate your flexibility with regard to pay that Peter discussed with me, that you was telling me about the discussion you had. That flexibility is greatly appreciated. Now, ultimately, we want to build Biskaken into the most successful repair business, hopefully in Ghana, but at least in Kotharidua. We would also ultimately like you to be among the highest paid mechanics in the country. It may take a while to get there. And how do we intend to do that? First, we will invest in equipment that saves labor and expands your capabilities. Um, the one thing I want to impress upon you is I know Peter to be a man of high integrity. And I'm quite sure he would not have invited you along on this journey if he did not think the same of you. So we are going to start out with the utmost respect between you and management. Um, I intend to do my best to guide this organization to the best of my ability to be professional, to be of the highest integrity, and also to be profitable. Now, as regards profitability, there are some things that are just so piddly that it doesn't pay to charge for them. Like somebody wants a cap for a valve stem, or they want to borrow a rag. We don't need to charge for that. Just common decency. But we're not a charity, so we have to get paid for our work. If you're going to get paid, Biskaken has to get paid. Trying to pause this. I'm sorry. Well, I will organize my thoughts on the fly here and continue. Um, in my days as a Snap-on tool dealer, I sold a lot of training. And a couple things. Number one, I sat in on every training session that I sold. So I learned quite a bit about how automobiles work. Between the training sessions and between selling tools to people who did do the repairs, I learned quite a bit. I've also worked quite a bit on my own automobiles and small engines, so I have some mechanical aptitude. Now, as we increase our investment in the business, we're going to expand the capability of the company and expand your capability to do the work that comes in the door. And again, we intend to share our success with you. And hopefully, we can all have a teamwork frame of mind. I think that we're off to a pretty good start here. We don't have everything that we would like to have in the shop, but you notice the floor is painted. Thank you for participating in that. That was my suggestion to make the place a little bit easier to keep clean. Um, and that's gonna be the essence. I've been in shops where, as a snap-on tool dealer, all kinds of shops, shops that are so filthy and unorganized you almost don't even want to go in them. And I've been in other shops where the floors are almost clean enough you could eat off of them. Now that's an exaggeration, of course, but you get what I mean. Now, when I see a shop that's all dirty and disorganized, I tend not to think very highly of the quality of work that's coming out the door. Conversely, if people care enough to keep the shop clean, keep it organized, do professional, it's more likely that they're going to be doing professional work. And I have this saying, the best shortcut is to do it right the first time. Now, having some mechanical experience myself, I know that not every job is going to go A to Z, slick and easy. That there's going to be times when bolts are broken, when maybe corrosion is a big factor in your ability to get the work done. We won't hold that against you if you take a little bit of extra time, but to the greatest extent possible, we're going to try to have menu pricing. And the menu price should be just a base from which to work. If the car comes in all corroded, there has to be an extra charge. If you happen to break a bolt through no fault of your own, that is not doing it deliberately, we should be charging the customer for the extra work that's involved. I also understand that doing a brake job on, say, a 1-ton pickup truck might take a little bit more time than doing a front end brake job on a Toyota Camry. But we're going to try to have menu pricing so the customers know pretty much what they're going to be dealing with on the pay end of things. Now, the other thing is we're going to have work orders, and I don't think the work should proceed without the signature and approval of the customer. This is going to make it a lot easier to collect in those very rare instances where there is some bones of contention between the customer and our company. In our country, if a contract is not signed to proceed with the work, the customer is not legally obliged to pay. Not sure the law is over there, but we're going to work on that same premises. No work is done without the customer's approval. The other thing is, um, I've had some experience, some customers, they like to chisel. And can you do this for me for either a discount or for free? Some tiny minor thing like, okay, it needs a valve stem to do the tire. I would include new valve stems and in every tire job. I know we don't have a tire machine yet, but it's high on our list. Um, but I would include that. Also, no shortcuts. Let's do it professional. Let's do it right. I was in one shop one time where the guy was putting new brake pads on rotors that were worn out. Some rotors have webbing in between the inside and the outside surface on disc brakes, and it was worn all the way down to the fins that hold the two plates together. And I said, Tony, what are you doing? He said, oh, the customer can't afford any more than this. I would submit that Tony could not afford to do that job. Why? Because it reflects poorly on him if something goes wrong. And number two, the chances of failure, premature failure, and or safety problems are so high, it's better to say no to that kind of work than to do a shabby job. Again, professionalism. We want to set the highest standard, and for doing that, we can charge a premium. With that scan tool, I know that Moses is able to do work that a lot of mechanics in Ghana right now can't do, and that's good. For those kind of things, the drivability things, we can charge a premium. And with that premium and the profits made from it, we can invest in more equipment that even more greatly expand the ability of Biskaken to serve its customers. Now, my hope is that you see my vision, our vision, and adopt it as your own. And I'm pretty sure from what Peter has told me that that is the case. Um, One thing that I picked up in my Snap-on days is an oil change is not just an oil change. It is your key to look at the vehicle for other problems that could result in further sales. Now, ultimately, we want to reward that deep digging. You know, if you find work that is not on the original ticket, number one, before proceeding, you got to go get to the customer and have them sign the new work order for the additional work. We don't do it just by word of mouth because, again, that could lead to misunderstandings. The more things are written down, the more specific we are, the fewer problems we're going to have. Uh, so anyway, by upselling, you're keeping the shop busier, you're putting more money in the till, and you will have more work to do. And ultimately, both Biskaken and Albert and Moses will have more money. Now, one thing that I learned the hard way when I went into business for myself is the concept of overhead. Um, I was in the building business at the time, and I figured, well, hey, if this job went absolutely perfect, I could make this amount of money. And that was the way I based my charges. Wrong, wrong, wrong. There should be a build into the base price that, 10% of the time something's going to go wrong. If that's the caliber of the work, you should charge a 10% bonus so that those occasions where things do go wrong, you have the money to go ahead and do the work properly. Um, the other thing is, um, don't be afraid to say no to certain work. If the vehicle if the cost of the repair exceeds the value of the vehicle, chances are we don't want to do that work because whatever, a vehicle that's on its last legs is doomed to fail sooner rather than later. And, we have to trust that you, the frontline people in the shop, will make those decisions and make them properly. But do not be afraid to turn down work that is not in the best interests of you, our mechanics, or the company. Um, there's enough work out there. The other thing is, let's get back to integrity here. There's enough work out there that we don't have to cheat anybody. There's hardly a vehicle on the road that does not have something that could be legitimately repaired. Let's look for that work. Let's find it and let's do it and keep it on the highest level of integrity and the highest levels of workmanship using quality materials so that our customers are happy. There's a saying that, the sweetness of low price is soon forgotten when the caliber of the work is not there. When things fail, when things fall apart, people are going to forget the price. Um, and we're not going to be the cheapest in town. But if you can do work that other shops can't, we're going to get all the work we need. And again, if we demonstrate to the public that we're of the highest level of integrity, people are going to seek us out. I'll tell you what, here in the United States, we have a lot more shops and a lot higher level of training, I would dare say, than is typical of Ghana. But I'll tell you what, good mechanics are hard to find. I don't care where you are in the world. Good mechanics are hard to find. Now, the mechanic that does most of my work, he's not the cheapest. And you know what? I don't care because when I get my vehicle, I'm pretty darn sure it's going to be right. And if it's not, that my friend Eric is going to fix it. That's going to make it right. So with that in mind, I think we have a strong basis to move forward, to be profitable, and basically have a good life. Um, why am I doing this? I don't need to invest in Africa. Um, I'm doing it in part because Peter Bismarck is my friend. For another thing, having seen three different shops or three different mechanics when I was over there, the level of professionalism that I saw is Abysmal. I hate to say that, but on the other hand, it's amazing what one fellow in particular did just using a screwdriver. But just think of how much more work he could do, how much better and faster he could do it if he had a full array of tools. And that's what we're providing you. Um, no, I'm not doing this for the fun of it. I expect to make a little bit of profit off of my investment there, as does Peter, as does Emmanuel. We're going to be the three principal investors in this enterprise. But there's room to grow. Um, and if you stick with us, if you do the good work that we expect, I'm sure this could be a very long-term relationship and mutually beneficial to the investors and to our mechanics. Okay, let's talk about pricing. I'm thinking that in order to be a sustainable business, if we pay 100 CDs for a part, we should probably be charging 150 CDs. That may seem excessive for those who don't understand overhead, but I'll tell you what, in the construction business, I had relatively low overhead as compared to many others. But if I didn't double my man's wages, I'm probably going backwards. I'm probably not even making a profit. And that was 40 years ago. Today we have higher unemployment insurance rates, higher workman's compensation rates, higher liability insurance rates than we did when I initiated my construction business 4 decades ago. So again, it comes back to if the boss isn't making any money, sooner or later you are not either. And we need to have a cushion when the when the tire machine breaks, we need the money in the bank to buy another one. Right now, we're trying to build toward a lift and an alignment machine, and our profits will be mostly reinvested in the business to help us grow, to help us be more profitable in the long run. And we hope you see yourself as a part of the team to make all this happen. But again, getting back to why did I invest? Again, partly because of Peter's good graces, partly because I see Ghana and Africa in particular as potentially the lands of opportunity. Uh, there's many repair shops in this country. It would be foolish of me to make this kind of an investment in my own country, unless I were to be a big part of the business. And I see a greater potential right now in your country for my money to work for me than I do in my own. Um, so again, pricing, we're gonna price 50% of cost added on, so 150% of our costs, which is going to yield a 33 and a third percent gross profit. Gross profit is just the markup, and there'll be expenses against that, utilities, um, supplies, laundry services, if we ever get to that stage, um, shop supplies, all of the above. We don't expect you to pay for that stuff, but we need it in the company so that we can have these materials and supplies available to you so that you can do the job. Now, I would entertain if you, okay, and we're also going to mark up your wages as well. I don't know what kind of um, fees and insurances and things like that we have in my country. I don't know what applies over in your country, and I'm going to leave that up to Peter to decide. The markup on labor and other expenses. Um, but don't sometimes it's hard for mechanics to understand again this concept of overhead. Um, but I'm hoping that you bear with us, that you see the need for us if we don't make something on our investment, there won't be any further investment. We have to make a profit, not just for your future, but for ours. Um, I'm old enough. I could sit on this money. I don't need to be investing in Ghana. I'm just doing it because I see an opportunity, and I want to help my friend Peter. And I am hoping that Peter's friends are my friends as well. Anyway, I'm going to terminate this right here, and I want to thank you again for joining our team. I want to thank you again for being flexible with the pay side of things. And I promise you that if this company grows the way I anticipate, you're going to be pleased in the long run. And we hope to keep you as members of our team for a good long time. Thank you very much and good day. How do I stop this thing? There we are. Boom.